Welcome back to Table Talk and Tumbleweeds. This is kind of our second sort of official episode of the reboot, but it is now the first Sunday in Advent. And we talked a little bit last week about what Advent is. It's preparation, and we talked about kind of a little bit about what it isn't.
Yeah.
But now we're sort of really getting into the idea of Advent, and
this is why this liturgical season matters.
Yes. So the texts are Isaiah 2, 1 through 4, which is the text of the swords into plowshares. It's a well-known text. Nations streaming onto God's mountain. So it's this apocalyptic imagery, and we'll get back to that idea.
And it's the exilic ingathering.
Yes. And then I guess the Romans, you know what time it is. It is the moment for you to wake from sleep. Romans 13, 11 through 14. And finally, Matthew 24, 36 to 44, which is again this apocalyptic imagery that you do not know the time. But then there's also this image that I think has become very, again, well known in apocalyptic imagery of two women are standing there and one is gone and the other one is not there.
One will be left in the field and one will be taken.
Yes. And so I think we may end up going there, but I think that there's also some other things to think about in terms of Advent. So this is the season of preparation, right?
Yes.
And what are we preparing for?
We are, as we said in the previous one, we are preparing for the incarnation of God in our lives.
Yes.
And what that is going to look like is going to be maybe different than what we might expect, especially if we are continuing to prepare for an infant in a crib. Because that is an event that happened, and now it's time to prepare for something else. And so this apocalyptic event, we keep using this word, we should probably define it. This apocalyptic event of the incarnation in your life comes with changes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the apocalypse then. This idea of the apocalypse, and you and I keep sort of dancing up to this.
It's definitely time to define.
Yeah, but okay, so how is the incarnation an apocalypse? So the incarnation, we have, why is the incarnation an apocalypse?
Well, apocalypse is a Greek word. Apo is away. Calypse is like eclipse, veil. And so an apocalypse is removing the veil. It's revealing information that you've got to know. And it's not always not just information, but revealing things that you need to see, things that you need to know. And so an apocalypse, our definition is going to be very divergent from the world as it's used in the culture, right? Mm-hmm. Where an apocalypse is the destruction of everything and it's a terrible, dreary thing. But apocalypse is when God pulls back the veil and says, this is reality. This is what matters. This is what you need to pay attention to, which is why the Apocalypse of John, which we always call the book of Revelation, is about God saying, Rome loses. Don't put your faith in Rome. Instead, put your faith in God because God wins in the end. And that's a revelation of truth that was not obvious to the people at the time.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm going to push back against the popular meaning is not the right one because
it's incomplete.
It's incomplete, and it's looking at the wrong side of the coin.
Yes. Right?
Because you have this. So what is the vision? What is the vision of the incarnation? Well, this is what our texts do, right? They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war no more. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord. And then you have, that's Isaiah, Romans. I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but you have Isaiah describing this vision, right? Lifting the veil. We're going to lift the veil. We've streamed into the mountains of God. We've lifted the veil, and we are going to beat our swords into plowshares, right?
And that's the end of that old world where swords were necessary.
Yes, but the swords have to be destroyed.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Because the old world where the swords were apparently necessary, where spears were the way that you did things, all those things seemed so important. And when God removes that veil, you see, actually, no, they weren't that important. After all, we can get rid of those, we can destroy those in the fire, and we can produce these things which are tools for good and for care of our creation, for care of each other.
But is this idea of, okay, but these things aren't important. I mean, on the one hand, I want to agree with you, but on the other hand, I'm wondering if there's a better word to describe. I mean, these things are part of the illusion.
Yeah.
Right? We think they're important.
Yeah.
Right? We think, I mean, this goes back to what we talked about ad nauseum over the summer,
Yeah.
right? That the world says, this is how things are done.
This is your God, O Israel.
This is your God, O Israel, and your God is the God of war, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an idolatry that brings us to war. Just as it is the idolatry that brings us to stuff at Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And so it is this thing we've decided to chase instead of God, is that we will be great and powerful because we've got more swords than they do.
And I think that this is where that apocalyptic thing comes in, right? Because as long as you have swords, you're not ready for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? And in order, and so in an apocalypse, this is what the apocalypse of John is meant for is to be good news, because it's speaking to the people who are oppressed, the people who are victims of the powerful, right? The people who have been downtrodden, the poor, and in this case, the Israel, right?
Yeah.
And saying, look, don't put your faith in these things, put your faith in this thing, and at the end of time, right, there will be a reckoning. There's judgment languages in these texts
Absolutely.
as well. There will be a reckoning, and all of this world will be wiped away, and it will be wiped away. And we'll maybe get to this a little bit more in a moment. It'll be wiped away not as punishment, right? It will be wiped away in order to make room for.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like, I don't know why Marie Kondo just popped into my head, right? It's kind of like, it's looking at your sword, does this spark joy? No, it does not. Let's get rid of the thing that does not spark joy.
So that there's room for something that does.
So there is room for something that does.
Yes.
And what we do so far in our society is when we don't have room for more things that spark joy, we just rent a storage unit, and we stick all of our crap into that storage unit, and then we make room for more stuff. And what I think what this beginning of Advent is like, if you really want to prepare for this inbreaking,
Yeah.
right, which has already happened, is in the process of happening, if you want to be part of this fulfillment, you can't just put all of the old world into storage.
No, it's got to be gotten rid of entirely.
It's got
so
to
that
be
you
gotten
can be
rid of.
prepared for this new stuff. We have this great tendency to want to hold on to it just in case. What happens if I decide this isn't for me and I want to go back and
Plowshares suck.
yeah.
Don't- Oops.
So, but what if the plowshare just isn't for me? What if manual labor like that is not nearly as much fun as being in charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's this, we want to hold on to that old world which has to die.
And I think that this is so, I mean, if nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
And that's so outside of anybody's experience or cultural or anything that we would expect from this, that to argue this is shocking again, right?
Yeah.
To make this statement, you won't need swords anymore, is just outside of everyone's expectations and experience, that they just don't know what to do with it.
But I think there's also a sense in which, I mean, I really hate to engage in dualism, but I think, an either or, right?
Yep.
Can you just pick up, pause the video, go pick up the newspaper, go back to your news feed or whatever horrible event is happening today.
Yeah.
That, you know, again, that is the world, that is the old world. This has to be, we have to get rid of that old world, because you cannot have this world that God wants to describe. The apocalypse is getting rid of the things that are keeping this incarnation from happening.
Yeah.
And I want to say that cautiously,
Yeah.
because God does what God wants to. But I mean, and so this is the question of how the apocalypse happens, right? You know,
Yeah.
is it a bang or a whimper to
Yeah.
to Robert Frost, I think. You know, I mean, we have this idea of an apocalyptic event being one that destroys everything.
Well, I think there's a place to say that that comes out of this Greek world, Greek tradition, right? With the deluge, which certainly we have our own stories like that. But what's the term? There's an actual Greek term for how everything's going to be destroyed by flood, and then you have these repeating cycles. The Stoics talk about ekpyrosis, how the world is destroyed by fire and then remade again, and destroyed by fire and remade again. And I think a lot of that Greek philosophy has wormed its way into our theology, whether we want it to or not. And some of it's probably valid, but and it's taken over what we really need to be looking at from the biblical perspective, I think. And so we want that moment where everything just happens and it's hard and fast, and if you're not ready for it, it comes like it comes so suddenly and painfully that it destroys everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily destroy. I think that we've gotten a little lost with that one. But it still comes and changes things. And maybe we can argue that changing and destroying are not unrelated. But we expect violence out of it. The Greek word I'm looking for is cataclysm. Downward washing. That's what we expect. We expect cataclysmic events. And that's literally the Greek word. Kata is down, klysmos is wash, and we expect it to wash away everything. And that includes us.
Yeah. And so thinking about this idea of, you know, apocalypse and cataclysm, I mean, we do appear to be in a moment in which apocalypse and cataclysm and catastrophic events are sort of part of the psyche.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is a feeling of gloom and doom, but I think there is a little bit of the flip side. And when you know, that there is a sense that we have, and I think it's a spiritual sense, if you will, that this world is not all it could be. And it's sort of like, I mean, an apocalypse is our desire to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I'm too attached to my things, but maybe if someone just takes them all away from me, then I can start all over again.
I need to not have the choice to go back to the
I need to not
old
have
world.
the choice.
Ooh, I'm not sure if I like that.
I'm just throwing that out a little bit. And you know, I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead, I've used this image before, that, you know, The Walking Dead has this idea that, you know, there's no more cars, no more televisions, no more, you know,
And when everything dies,
video
that's when you
games.
can live.
Yes, and you know, world in which, you know, everything is dead, we finally learn how to live.
Yeah.
And this theme that happens in apocalyptic literature, modern apocalyptic literature, is this idea that that the losers in the old life, right? And I think there's always an element of that in Christianity, and one of the things, and you and I have talked about some of our travels before, and one of the things that's really interesting in terms of missionary work with Christianity, the people that are attracted to Christianity are not they tend not to be the elites in a society. It's the people down here that when missionaries go in and say, yeah, that's not the way it works. God, you know, there is this a sense of equality, of freedom, which for good or ill, right? You know, that's the Christian message, and people hear it and they go, oh, I don't have to bow in obsequience to an emperor or a king.
The
right?
theology of the cross only works for the people who are on the cross.
Yes.
Who are already hurting, who are already
Yes.
oppressed.
Yes.
Otherwise, you get the theology of glory, and that's its own danger.
Yes, and apocalypse is good news for the losers of the old world.
Yes.
It's bad news for the winners in this world, and I think that's why we like to fantasize about apocalypse. But
Because there's a little loser somewhere inside of all of us.
I know we like to fantasize about it, we just don't want it to actually happen.
That's fair. That's fair.
I kind of knew at one point that I was talking way too much about apocalypse in my classes when one of my students gave me a bumper sticker that says the hardest thing about a zombie apocalypse is going to be pretending I'm not excited.
I'll believe that, yeah.
I have a plan. So the incarnation is, and this is perhaps why we want to make it warm and fuzzy, right? We those of us who are so, I was going blessed, privileged, whatever word you want to use, those of us who are doing pretty well in this old world,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure that I want God to change it. What I would like God is to maybe, the rising water, which I get lifted up into,
Yeah.
right? Instead of, the water that comes down washes from the top.
Yeah. I want God to fix all those other people's problems because I'm okay, actually. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And so if you could just fix those people and you can make sure that stuff works for them, don't involve me in it.
So if we can turn this incarnation into something that is sort of gentle instead of something that is
Which wanders
beating
us back
swords
to our,
into,
which wanders us back to our discussion about Christmas and the sanitization of it
Yeah.
with this cute little baby.
yeah.
Which it certainly is the case, but the sanitization of it and the sentimentalization of Christmas comes because this is supposed to be this in-breaking moment where suddenly everything has changed. Because suddenly God is incarnate in the world with us, and that means we got some accountability going on.
I know that there are some people that talk about traditions of Christmas, obviously we get stuff, right? But I don't know if this is something that I read or something I was told, but it's something that struck me that they said that their parents made them give up one present.
Really?
They would open them and it's like you have to get rid of.
I was really hoping it was before it was opened. It was just lottery, pick one.
No, you have to pick. Yeah.
You have to pick one that you want.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was I had to pick my favorite present or something like that, which on one hand seems cruel to a child, but isn't that, it seems to me that for Christmas to really grasp this idea of incarnation, the radicalness of incarnation,
And
instead
the
of getting
sacrifice that's
gifts,
attached to it.
you should give something away
Yeah.
to make room
And not
for
just
what's real.
A thing, but a thing that is comfortable
Important
and
to you.
beloved and important because those
Like
things
liver.
are. I'm trying to decide if you mean calf liver or my liver because those are two different things.
No, I meant like eating liver.
Okay, yeah.
I swear, God, I love it.
Absolutely, my favorite thing. Don't take it away from
No,
me.
but, and I think, obviously in Lent we do some of this, and Advent used to be the corollary to Lent, right?
You have
When
Great
you were-
Lent, and then Advent is Baby Lent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be just as long, but then they shortened up Christmas. But this idea that Christmas is the time when you get more stuff is really, ironically, just the opposite of what Christmas is, because what it's doing is wrapping yourself up in the trappings of the old world in order to hide from ourselves the reality of the radicalness,
Of
the
new world that's
cataclysm,
coming. Yeah.
the apocalypse that is coming. Again, there's this irony that we just are focusing so much on the things that keep us from Christmas,
Yeah.
that keep us from the incarnation.